Good morning, everyone. This is Jehu Nadar. I'm the social media executive for Green Yatra, and I'm also a zoologist who likes to learn about Indian fishes and extreme habitats present in India. And also, I would like to share today a presentation, a session on Indian cave ecology. So, what is a cave? A cave or a cavern is anything, any natural void in the surface of the earth, like in which a human can enter. Like if a human can't enter it, it's called a pit, right? So that's as you can see in the image. I don't know whether you can see this, but there are two guys standing in here. So this is one of those huge caves which you can find, and the study of caves is called speleology. And in speleology, we do not only explore the caves, we study all the aspects of the cave, all the how the cave was formed, what are the elements present in the cave, what kind of weather factors affect it, what kind of fauna is present in it, and also about the cave structures, the cave environment. Some caves, huge caves like this, like the one you see in this picture, have their own environment, have their own microclimate in them. So they are usually found in China and Americas, but also in northeast of India, we have such sort of caves which are huge. So, so in this session, we will focus more about Indian caves. Visiting or exploring caves is a recreational hobby for extreme people, and doing it so will be called as caving. It is not very popular in India except in the Meghalaya region, where limestone caves are abundant. And also, it's slowly picking on in India as a whole as awareness spreads. And before going inside any cave, learn first about the cave's environment, uh, and then we'll go through it. And to learn about it, you will have to watch this session. Okay. And yeah, the last 3 points are some terminologies or some words related to caving. Wild caves are caves which are not accessible to common people, which means they are present in extreme places where normal people can't reach, and only professional cavers have the have the capacity to enter those caves. And active caves have water flowing through them, like the one you can no, relic. The one in the picture is would be an example of relic cave, which means there is no active water flowing through them. So usually, active caves have streams, rivers, tributaries, something, canals running through them. So flowing water is always there, and so is the danger of flooding. So active caves are something very risky endeavors, but relic caves do not have any water source through them, but they will still have water in them, which was trapped in it long ago. And so we'll learn about the types of cave specific to India. So the first kind of caves are tectonic caves. Tectonic caves are formed when two pieces of a landmass are pushed by the Earth's internal movement to opposite ends. So in the weak part of the surfaces, the ground will split apart, and you can get such rifts. As you can see in the picture, this is from Sahiya region of Dehradun. The ground has split apart due to tectonic movements. Dehradun, as you know, is in the Himalayan region where the ground movements are very active. And As you can see, they can fit inside them, like humans can fit inside them, and hence it's a cave. Mhm. Talus cave. Excuse the picture. The guy is not really stuck. So talus caves are not really like caves, but talus caves are formed when hillsides or landslides occur in hills and mountains, and those rocks tumble down and jump, arrange themselves haphazardly on one on top of the other, creating sort of small spaces where humans can fit through. This talus caves are not very stable, and there's always a risk of them falling and crashing on your head if you go inside them. So this picture is not from Gariyaband, but there are many caves like this present all over India. But Gariyaband area has one sort of cave which looks similar to this. So I have used this picture for representational purpose only. And yeah, all over India you can find such kind of caves, talus caves. Sea caves. Sea caves, example would be Kupa Cave from Goa. So sea caves are found all over the world where there are coasts present, and the water of the ocean waves keep on crashing on the rocks. Over time, the weak part of the cave, like weak part of the cliff sides, give away, and water gushes inside, and over time you will get a big connection of network of caves in them. They are mostly inaccessible, but some are present in the shore itself, and some of them are. So Andaman and Nicobar, this sort of islands have so this type of caves, lots of them, but and most of these caves are only accessible during low tides, and there is always a risk of you getting stuck during high tides. So glacier caves. India in the northernmost region has glaciers which melt and which feed the glacier-fed rivers of our country in the northern plains, Gangetic Plains. So this is one such cave, which is called as Gaumukh Cave. It is in Uttarakhand. It is the source of Ganga, the river Ganges. And uh, this the cave might not look very impressive, but reaching here will take impressive effort, and it is one of the most riskiest treks one can take. And uh, but how are glacier caves formed? Yeah, I should explain that first. Glacier caves are formed when the temperature difference in the water happens. So when water gets cold, it usually expands in size. So the water stuck in the cracks of rocks will expand when it gets cold, and this expansion of water will put pressure on the rock, and the rocks will begin to crack, and over time this will lead to caves being formed. So it is a good example of this is a good example of glacier cave. And Aeolian caves. Aeolian caves, as the name suggests, Aeolian means winds. So wind will carry small particles of sand, sort of stuff, which when continuously upon impact with such rock surfaces, usually soft rocks, you can see that such sort of formation occurs, and over time you can get cave formation also. So this Jogimara cave, which is in Chhattisgarh, has not been studied scientifically, but the doctor who researchers on caves in India, Jayant Biswas. So he hypothesizes that Jogimara caves might have been formed through Aeolian caves, and hence I have kept this example. So rock shelters are formed when, like, uh, usually rocks are like arranged in sediments, right? So the hard rocks which are extremely uh, resistant to erosion, and are in the top, and usually the shale kind of rock, like limestone or soft kind of rocks, when they are in the bottom, the soft rocks will get eroded over time due to weathering, and the hard rock will be left overhanging on the top part. So you can see this is the hard rocks, and there might have been once there was once soft rock here, but over time due to weathering, this part has gradually been lost, and now it's looking like this rocks are hanging. So it's called as a rock shelter, and this is from Bimbetka, which is a very popular tourist spot. And yes, those pillars which you see are man-made, but the entire mountain in itself is a natural cave. Lava tubes. Lava tubes are also called as primary caves because the cave was formed the same time when the surrounding rocks were formed. So if you have seen the above examples, like the previous examples, all of those caves, in all those cases, the rocks were present earlier. The caves came later, and mostly due to the degradation of the rocks. But in this case, lava tubes are formed when the surrounding rocks were also formed. So what happens then during volcanic eruptions? The lava will flow. Lava begins to ooze out of the earth's surface, and when it flows uh, through the surface of the earth, the surrounding the surface layer of the lava tube will cool down, and the hot lava inside the tube will continue to flow. And once the hot lava empties out, this covering of the lava will solidify and form such lava tubes. So this lava tubes are prominent in western Deccan traps of India. That's western Maharashtra region, west side of Maharashtra. And this is from close to my place, which is Mumbai. And this particular photos are from Badlapur, which is some 50 miles from Mumbai. So solution caves. Solution caves are the most commonest form of caves which you can find in this world. So solution caves are also called as karst caves. So karst caves are formed due to in regions where limestone is abundant. Limestone is soft. So what happens is that when limestone is present underground, the top layer, and when the region is in a high elevation zone and waterfall is good, so these three conditions are necessary. So the underground should contain good limestone quantities, and the region should be present in a high elevation zone, and lots of rainfall should happen. Like a rainfall above 500 millimeter is required. So when rain falls, usually rain is slightly acidic, extremely slightly acidic, and when it falls on the earth, it mixes with the organic matter of the forest, the floor, and it gets even more acidic, and it will pass through the groundwater layers, and it will seep into the small fissures, cracks, holes of the rocks, and it will seep through them and reach the limestone layer. And once it reaches the limestone layers, the acidic rainwater will degrade that will react with the limestone, and it will degrade it. And so over time, such big over time the impact so much that the extremely big caves can be found. For example, the Maumul cave, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's called Maumul cave in the local language of Meghalaya. It is a 10 kilometer, I believe it is in a 10 kilometer long cave. So 10 kilometers is pretty big for a cave. And so it is an example of karst cave. And karst cave, you actually, this type of cave is an entire ecosystem on its own, because it will include the top layer, the earth, and then the groundwater table, then the bedrock, and then the caves themselves. And there are many such niche habitats which are not seen anywhere on the earth. So it is an entire ecosystem on its own. The entire region would hold lots of extreme endemic, extremely adapted fauna, which will be found nowhere else. So, so where we can find limestone cast in India. India has lots of limestone deposits all over, but what the condition required, as I told you, was that high grade limestone is required, abundant rainfall, and high elevation, a hot, humid climate, all of which are found in Meghalaya. So, Meghalaya is somewhere here, I guess. Somewhere here. So Meghalaya is the only state in India with significant karst features and numerous caves. This is also because Meghalaya comes under the Indo-Malayan realm, like Indo-Sino realm, whatever. And China, Vietnam, this sort of regions have huge karst caves like this because of the climatic condition and the ideal condition which is required is found there. And this state boasts extensive and magnificent cave system, which is this is not to say that other regions of India don't have caves, but the caves are not as big as here. And limestone in other regions of India also have has lots of limestone, but we don't have karst cave systems abundantly. So no other state comes a close second to Meghalaya in this limestone cave stuff. So limestone caves have what we call have formations in them, which is called as paleotherms. Paleo comes from the word cave, and therms means deposition. So as I told you that the water dripping, seeping through the ground, and once it reaches the limestone region, it will when it begins to drip, it will begin to drip or flow depending on the cracks and faults present in the bedrock. So, depending on whether it is dripping or whether it is flowing, and the internal caves environment, we will classify the speleothems. But before that, when speleothem as a study was introduced, there was a lot of there is still lot of disagreements over how to name them. So some a group of people told that we should name them based on their origin, and some told that we should name them, classify them according to the elements present in this structure. And some told that we should name them based on their appearance. So how do they look like? But so we never got over this argument. But cavers, when they usually visit a cave and prepare maps, they will describe the region using the like using how using this appearance only, because that is the very easy most easiest way to remember. So you must have studied this in fifth standard or sixth standard of geography class. So stalactites are the ones which are hanging from the ceiling. So as you can see in here, so this is like cave water dripping water. Once it reaches the cave environment, the acidic water will have calcium in it. Once it reaches the cave environment, this calcium will solidify and it will form over time. It will form like sharp isoscale-like structures. And stalagmites are the same, also are similar, but they grow from the ground towards the upward area. So some if you can see this here, like this is a stalactite which drips water down here, and over time the dripping water from this stalactite has made this stalagmite. So over time, during over many thousands of years, they both eventually meet each other and form a column. So like the one you see in here, and in here they are like beginning to join together, but the bond is like slightly weak. But it is here in this one, it is very strong. So dripping water makes stalactites and stalagmites. So a easier way to remember is to remember that stalactites has C in it, which stands for ceiling, and stalagmites has G in it, which stands for ground. So this is a column speleothem. Stalactite and stalagmite meeting will make column speleothem. Flowstone forms when water, instead of dripping, like flows begins to flow through it. Like the speed of the water is more because the crack is also more, or like the inflow of the water is more. So if the crack of on the above layer is very low, then water will drip. But if the the water has opportunity to flow fast, then it will create like this frozen waterfall like structure. So that's a flow storm. Draperies, draperies, you can see it in here also. So draperies look like curtains. This is because of water flow like seeping through a big crack, like thin long crack, and the draperies have a wavy appearance either because of the wind flow if the cave is exposed to air, like the outside environment, and which allows air to enter in it. The air will give a shape to this drapery, or it is either because of the ground movements, like small movement of the bedrock. So, and other speleothem is moon milk, which is like very powdery, and it was used in ancient times to like put it on open wounds, sort of like an antiseptic. Cave pearls. Cave pearls are formed like when when water with when water with carbon calcium carbonate deposits around a small grain of sand or anything, and over time this keeps on growing and it will form a pearl. It sometimes it goes big enough, like up to 8 inches, uh, and they are very fragile. So helicites are zigzag like structures. Here you can see them like very sharp zigzag like structures. And the coralloids resemble corals. Other structures also found in caves, but that's not our focus. So some of them which are seen in Meghalaya caves are soda straws, Christmas trees, chandeliers, broomsticks, cave daggers, brimstone dams. So, but all this stuff should not be disturbed. So don't collect moon milk to heal your diseases or to close your open wounds. We have better alternatives than this, better medicines which will work better than this. This is unproven science, and you may also end up getting sick. And let's leave these structures safe for the future generations to appreciate also, because this stuff takes millions of years to form. So why are caves interesting? Caves are sort of a extreme habitat on Earth because of factors like this. There is perpetual darkness in here, high humidity, and high carbon dioxide levels. So this sort of like extreme parameters force an organism or anything present, any biotic or abiotic factor in it to adapt accordingly. So caves also maintain almost constant geophysical characteristics. As you saw in the previous slides, that the speleothems they require millions of years or thousands of years of stable environment to form, and caves are one such places where, despite the absence of inherent energy resources, so the greatest energy source which is available to Earth is the sun, and the light of sun doesn't reach most of the caves. So that's why the animals and the structures, geological formations present here are extremely unique. So why should we study caves? Uh, uh, the current geological age, as you know, is the way we classify the age of the Earth. So there are many epochs, periods, those sort of stuff, and the current geological age which we are living right now, had begun 4,200 years ago. How do we know it? Uh, a scientist, an Indian scientist, working in this Maumlu cave in Meghalaya, this like found out found out it using the like speleothem present in the cave. So, if you know history, you will know that almost all the ancient Bronze Age civilization. like Bronze Age civilization fell down simultaneously, like the Indus Valley civilization, the the Middle East one, the Babylonian, and the Egyptian, and even the Western European civilizations fell almost simultaneously fell together, and we have no idea why they disappeared suddenly. So now we have found out that there was a 200-year long drought which happened, which forced the civilizations, the people living in civilizations, to migrate and to disperse. So that's millions, or that's like thousands of years of Tao confusion cleared. And how did we find it? Like, so as I told you, so this is an example here. You can see here. So water evaporates from the ocean, and when it evaporates, lighter isotopes of oxygen evaporate higher at a higher rate than the heavier isotope of oxygen. And when it cools, clouds form, and when the clouds uh, rain down, heavier isotopes weigh more than the lighter isotopes, and hence they readily fall down in the rain. And this water percolates through the bedrock, through the cracks of the bedrock, and this is an example of karst cave. And so it flows into a cave, and you can see the stalactites, stalagmites form, which are forming here, the cave system. So this is an entire ecosystem. And rain out gets progressively isotopically lighter. So the heavier isotopes will fall as early as possible, and as the cloud progresses, the heavy it like the isotope content in it gets reduced. The heavier isotope content goes on reducing. So using this data, so the key in here is wet climates with oxygen. Wet climates have oxygen isotope 16 in them. The stalactite, like the stalactite, uh, which is formed during the rainy season or during the wet season, has shows more presence of oxygen isotope 16. And during the dry climate, the stalactite, which forms the layer of stalactite which formed during the dry climate, has oxygen isotope 18. So using this, we can calculate, like, if we cut open a stalactite, we can find layers in it, and we can find the season of the earth during that period. And also, uh, Meghalaya boasts the world's largest cave fish species, which is called Neolixocelicus nar something. So it is the largest cave fish which we have found yet. So close second, uh, this similar size fishes, but slightly like less in size, are found in China, which borders Meghalaya. So that explains the presence of this fish. But this fish can grow up to 1.2 something, some 1.2, uh, I don't know, meters, I guess. No, not meters. Something. We'll see it in the upcoming slides. I forgot right now. And the longest sandstone cave found is in the world is also found in Meghalaya. So you can see that Meghalayan age, we must be proud. Like the current age of the Earth is named after an Indian state. So that's something which we can boast about. Indian summer monsoon. So Indian summer monsoon is what is called a southern western monsoon, which comes from the Arabian Sea. Arabian Sea, yes, Arabian Sea, and it is the one which provides 70 to 80% of annual rainfall to India. Even a slight variability in it will result in flood. So if the rainfall is high, flood will occur in India. India is a land where we depend on rainfall for our day-to-day needs, because India is a land of agriculture. 60% of people in India practice agriculture. So if rain comes higher than average, it will be flood. Lower than average, it will be drought. So 150 years of data which was collected during Britishers' time show that there has been always been a 10% fluctuation. So 10 percentage fluctuation will not sound like that huge of a difference, but in a country like India, as I told you, that's a big difference. It is a difference between life or death. Dip below 20 percentage is considered failure of rains. So that's drought. So as you can see in the data, in the map in here, the 1, 2, 3, like this is the 20 percentage range. Below 20 percentage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 6 times. And so it is well distributed. So we didn't have lots of drought in the past 150 years, but there has been a significant amount of drought. And so, and also this is the data collected by the from the rain department, like the meteorological department. And this data recently, like as the data which we have regarding from the speleotherms, like this data which we find recently from speleotherms and proxy data from India and Southeast Asia. So proxy data means so the main meteorological data. This is from the main meteorological department data, and proxy data means data which was collected on rains in India, but from other departments. So that's which we can use to verify, cross check the data here. So when reading about those kind of data, when we like get new data from that speleotherms and from this proxy data, we find that this graph is very, like what you can see, like very suspicious, because the data is not correlating very nicely. So might be there might be human error or some sort of error in this data. So the new data developed from the new sources, like from speleotherms, so that like low frequency, the monsoon in India exhibits like type of low frequency and high amplitude variation, like years to decades of India, years to decades, there might be completely like dry phases and completely wet phases. So this is like growing, like going up, going down, going up, going down, which is like very stable. But uh, and this is also very like short-sighted data, like very zoomed in data. But when we get our hands upon a speleotherm, we find out that speleotherm has like data of thousands of years. So we can see the bigger picture, and we find that Indian monsoon shows a phase of high frequency, like low frequency, but high amplitude. When rain comes, it comes in like it comes like a flood, like lots of years, decades of wet phases, and decades of sudden dry phases. So the bigger picture can be found from this speleotherms. So that's very important for a country like India. And the other data alternatives which we have, apart from speleotherms, are tree records. And but tree records can be only found in the Himalayan region because of this huge trees, temperate trees. And in southern India, we do have big trees like the teak tree, but teak trees rings can only tell about the temperature difference, not about rainfall. And even these trees are not more than 500 years old. So ice core records are available only in the Tibetan plateau. So that limits the data from ice core records, and lake core records are only found in northwestern Indian lakes or some lakes in central India, like the Lonar Lake, which has not been disturbed very much. But overall, it does not present an accurate picture of the entire Indian subcontinent. And also the ocean sediment core data information is very good. Like ocean sediment core data is very good, but it also doesn't provide direct information about the monsoon. So we'll have to find it in an indirect way. So if the wind was more, how we calculate is that if wind was more in the sediment core, which means the monsoon was more. But so which is not always true. Wind might be more, the southern western wind might be more, but that does not always mean that rainfall will also be more. So that's an indirect form of information. So we can't depend on that also. So for what are the advantages of stalagmites? for paleo monsoon data. Paleo stalagmites are found widely across continents. So across continents, there are many caves. Many caves have this sort of stalagmites, and we can cut out. So as you can see in the right side, this is from the what was the name? Maumlu cave. So this is the cave one which we found, which was used to find the 4,200 years data, like for what happened 4,200 years. So in this interval, there was a big dry phase, 200 years of drought. So this was how we found about the Meghalayan age. So as you can see, this region is so small, but in but in our time scale, that's 200, like 4,200 years ago. So this small region is 4,200 years. So you can see that how we can find a bigger picture of thousands of years going backwards. So stalagmites are relatively stable because cave environment is always very stable. And so here it is seen that 4 lakh years, yeah, 4 lakh years of data can be available, found from stalagmites, not only in India, even all over the world. So these stalagmites also have stable isotopes in them, as we discussed about that oxygen isotopes, trace elements, and physical characteristics. They provide robust evidence for climate and environmental interpretations. So let's go to the main part, which is biospeleology, space speleology. Yeah, biospeleology. So classification. How do we biospeleology means life. Bio means life. Speleology means study of caves. So study of life found in caves. They are mostly fauna. So flora is not always seen in caves. Although caves in China, as I told you, host their own microclimate and do have endemic fauna flora in them. But in India, we don't have any caves which have light penetrating in them. So the flora is not found or is not studied very greatly. So this is a classification system used by SCET in this 2008 research paper, and it is the one which I found in the latest book released on Indian caves, which is the only book released on Indian caves till now. So we'll see it in the upcoming slides. So this is a troglobiont. Troglo means whole, biont means living, a dweller, something. So one who dwells in a hole are species which are strictly bound to subterranean habitat. Subterranean means underworld. While whole file means love. So animals which love dwelling in caves, but don't are not from there. Like they don't, they like dwelling there, going there, but they can't complete life cycle in the cave itself. So they have to come outside to meet their day-to-day requirements. So, so that's so even in troglophiles, there are two categories. That one is eutroglophiles. Eu means true. True troglophiles are able to maintain a permanent subterranean population. So like this. So this is the Neospicus nar, or the largest cave fish species, which is found in Meghalaya. So this is an example of troglobiont, a fish, an organism which can permanently dwell inside caves. So its birth, feeding, life cycle, death, everything happens inside a cave itself. It has never come out of this cave in its life, and its population can continuously survive in this cave. This is an example of troglophile. And even in troglophile, this comes under eutroglophile. This is a centipede. Centipede. This is an representational picture, but we have some sort of there is some species of centipedes which inhabit caves. So they are found both above the outside the cave and inside the cave. And centipedes, the feeding requirements is very less, so they can also they are able to maintain a permanent cave population also. But there, this fish is found only in caves. Outside cave, it has never been spotted. So that's why it is a troglobiont. But this is a new troglophile because it has a permanent population inside the cave, but it also has a population outside the cave also. And this is a subtroglophile. Subtroglophile are animals which live inside the caves for shelter, but they also come, but they can't complete their life cycle inside it. So this is a bat. It has to come outside the cave to feed. So it does not. A bat's population can't sustain itself with the food which is available inside the cave, which is barely any food. Might be some little insects, but the bat colonies are huge and they have to sustain themselves with proper diet. So they come out of the cave. They have to come out of the cave to survive. So even though it likes to live in a cave, it has to complete. It has to come out of the cave to survive. And troglodytes are animals which like are found outside and inside the caves, occasionally found inside caves, but they are not able to establish any sort of population inside because they will die out eventually if they are stuck inside cave. But they are found in caves occasionally. So another sort of classification is stygofauna. Stygofauna means animals which are found on groundwaters, like groundwater, like wells, underwater springs, even caves, but they are not strictly restricted to caves. So this fish is strictly restricted to cave. It will not be found in any well or any groundwater table. Only caves. But stygofauna can be found in are found in wells, groundwater rivers, underwater rivers, under groundwater table column, and even in caves. Occasionally in caves also. So that's the difference between stygofauna and troglofauna. So troglobiotic features. We will discuss about general characteristics or like modifications or adaptations seen in animals which permanently inhabit caves, like like this troglobiont. So the first prominent thing which you can observe in this fish is that it has no eyes in it. Why no eyes? Because eyes are expensive. Eyes require a lot of energy, and even if you have eyes in a cave, it will be useless because caves don't have any source of light in them. And in order to seal anything, there you need a small source of light at least. So caves are useless. Caves having eyes in caves are useless. So the first thing which you can see in animals living in cave is that they have anophthalmia, something which means absence of eyes. So even in this beetle, which you can see in here, there is no eyes in it. Oops. What the hell? Yeah, yeah. There is no eyes in it. Absence of wings. So in insects, absence of wings is seen. Wings obviously have no use inside caves. Integument pigment. So pigments are also absent mostly. So all the animals which are adapted in caves don't have any pigments. So again, pigments require energy, and so in beetles, the why this beetle is in red color because beetles mostly don't use pigments to color themselves. The structure, like the outer layer, the elytra of the beetle, as small microscopic depressions sort of stuff, which when reflects light, when light bounces off its surface, it will like reflects a particular wavelength. So it's not because of pigments, which is why mostly animals in caves don't have any pigment in them. Elongated legs and antenna. So elongated legs and antenna is because a function like a blind man's stick, a blind man's stick. Man who is blind always carries a stick Why? Because in order to tap into things, in order to tap into the surroundings. So the same way, the antenna and long legs of this animals function here. Even in fishes, this sort of adaptations are seen, which we will see in the upcoming slides. So another notable feature is that most of these insects have special apparatus, breathing apparatus, special receptors, which will help them to detect humidity levels in the caves. So even small changes in humidity, they like wet areas. This sort of insects, animals like wet areas because caves are mostly wet. So once you remove this insect from particular habitat, it will get agitated and it will go into comatose state because of the change in environment. Because it is very sensitive and has very specific receptors to detect such sort of change. And in grasshoppers found inside caves in India, it is always noticed that they have weaker teeth, weaker stridulatory organs. Stridulatory organs are organs which are responsible for the chirping sound produced by these grasshoppers. The one which you hear at night times, chirp, chirp, chirp sounds. So the insects living inside caves have weaker stridulatory organ because in cave the sound system is very good. The environment is very conductive for sound to travel, so they don't need strong stridulatory organs to announce their presence. So what do this troglodyte fauna animals eat? So they eat twigs, leaves, bacteria, epigean animals. So occasionally some animal might wash inside, like get trapped inside caves and die. So dead animals, egg deposits of their own similar species, egg deposits of species which are already present in the cave, like competitive species. So they eat it. And bat guano. Bat guano is basically the excreta of a bat. So bat will travel outside the cave and eat lots of stuff, and it will excrete it inside the cave in the bottom of the cave. So this guana keeps on accumulating, and it is bat guana is used in was previously used in many stuff. So it's like fertilizer for bomb something. So it was harvested heavily previously. Even now it is a very extremely important stuff which can be harvested. So such piles of bad gona host lots of endemic animals, endemic insects on them, which are dependent on this bad excreta to survive. So Francis G. Howard suggests that fauna have lost water conservation mechanism. So usually we humans, animals, all sort of animals living in Earth surface have some sort of water conservation mechanism. We don't want to lose all the water which we have in our body. But the insects, animals, fishes, anything which live inside cave have lost this ability to conserve water, which is because they live in a cave where water is present abundantly, so they don't have to waste energy in conserving water. But because of this, when you as I told you, when we remove this animals from their habitat, they will get agitated. So also troglodyte have lower metabolism, which can lead to longer life, and we have not studied this very greatly. And the reproduction varies from species because it's mostly infrequent, and we have not been able to study it properly because getting inside a cave is a very difficult task in itself. And even because these animals have evolved in isolation, and even a small rock wall or a river flowing inside a cave can create many fragmentary patches. So even inside a single cave, lots of similar looking animals might belong to different species. So that is high level of endemism seen in them. So example would be in Sequoia and King Canyon Cave National Parks. In 255 new cases, over 30 undescribed species were found. So that's a lot of diversity for caves in a small area. So cave fishes. What are cave fishes? Cave fishes are fishes exclusively found in caves, which are not found in groundwater tables. So that would come under stygofauna. Uh, cave fishes. So regarding cave fishes, we will see it in the uh, part two of this session next week. Next week, or maybe the next week after this. Next week. So cave fishes are my specialty. Like I like them very much, and I have written a book on them also. Very small book only. We'll see this next week. Thank you for joining this session, and have a fun Saturday.